The massive ship hung in space like a giant crystal blade, ready to cut through anything in its path. Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge, looking at the small planet below through his viewing screen. His blue crystalline skin reflected the cold. Light from the stars as he studied the human settlement on Kepler 442b. 17 star systems had fallen to his fleet in the past 10 years. Each victory had been quick and brutal. The Zilithian Empire never showed mercy to those who refused to bow down. Today would be no different. "Sir, the humans have sent a ship requesting talks," said his second-in-command, Zethkol. The younger officer's crystal spikes glowed with excitement at the thought of another easy conquest. Vextar looked at the small human vessel approaching his flagship. It was nothing more than a basic transport ship with barely any weapons. The humans inside were probably shaking with fear right now. Let them come aboard, Vextar decided. I want to see these creatures beg for their lives before we destroy them. The human ship docked with the Zilithian flagship. Two humans walked through the airlock into the sterile white corridors of the alien vessel. The first was Captain Jake Murphy, a man in his 50s with gray hair and deep lines around his eyes. He wore a simple blue uniform that looked old and worn. The second human was Dr. Lisa Rodriguez, a woman with dark hair who carried a small tablet device. Zilithian guards with energy weapons led them to a conference room. The walls were made of the same crystal material as the ship's hull. Everything felt cold and sharp, like walking inside a frozen cave. Admiral Vextar entered the room with 3 other officers. His tall frame towered over the humans as he took his seat across from them. The translator device on the table hummed to life. "I am Admiral Vextar of the Zilithian Empire." His voice came through the machine in perfect English. "You have exactly 1 chance to save your pathetic lives." Captain Murphy sat straight in his chair without showing any fear. Dr. Rodriguez placed her tablet on the table and folded her hands calmly. "We represent the human colony on Kepler 442b, Murphy said in a steady voice. 12,000 people live on that world. Most of them are farmers and their families. Vextar's laugh sounded like breaking glass through the translator. "Farmers," he repeated the word like it was something disgusting. "How fitting. You will make excellent slaves in our labor camps." "We came here to discuss terms." Dr. Rodriguez spoke for the first time. Her voice was quiet but firm. "Perhaps we can reach an agreement that benefits both sides." The Zilithian admiral leaned forward. His crystal face showed nothing but contempt. "There are no terms to discuss. You have 2 choices. Surrender now, and we will relocate your people to work camps where they will serve the Empire for the rest of their short lives. Refuse, and we will turn your world into glass from orbit." Zethkol pulled up data on his console. "Admiral, our scans show they have no orbital defenses. Their ground forces consist of maybe a few hundred civilians with basic weapons. Their technology is centuries behind ours." "Exactly what I expected," Vextar said. He looked back at the humans. "Your species barely learned to travel between stars 50 years ago. You are children, playing with toys you do not understand." Captain Murphy exchanged a quick glance with Dr. Rodriguez. Something passed between them that the aliens did not catch. "We need time to consider your offer," Murphy said. 24 hours. To discuss this with our people." Vextar's crystal spikes flared with anger. "You dare to make demands of me? You have 6 hours, not 1 minute more. Use that time to say goodbye to your families because after that we start shooting." Dr. Rodriguez tapped something on her tablet. 6 hours, she repeated. "That should be enough time." "Enough time for what?" Zethkol asked suspiciously. "To prepare our people for what comes next," Murphy replied. The humans stood up from their chairs. They showed no signs of panic or desperation. They acted like people who had expected this conversation and were ready for it. "Guards escort them back to their ship," Vextar ordered. As the humans walked toward the door, he called out, "Do not attempt to flee. My ships will destroy you before you reach the edge of the system." We have no intention of running, Murphy said without turning around. This is our home. After the humans left, Zeth Cole brought up more intelligence reports. Sir, our scouts confirm the settlement has basic shields around the main town. They have one small spaceport with 3 cargo ships. No military vessels detected. What about their ground forces? Vextar asked. Thermal scans show about 3,000 adults of fighting age. Most appear to be engaged in farming activities. We detected some small arms, but nothing that could threaten our landing craft. Vextar studied the data with satisfaction. A textbook conquest, weak defenses, primitive technology, and a population that has never seen real war. Should we begin moving the invasion force into position? Zeth Cole suggested. Not yet, the Admiral decided. Let them spend their 6 hours in fear. I want them to understand how hopeless their situation is. Fear makes conquest easier. The Zilithian officers began planning their attack. They would start with orbital bombardment of any military targets. Then landing craft would deploy troops to secure the main settlement. The entire operation should take less than 3 hours. Sir, another officer reported, long-range sensors detect no other human ships in this sector. No reinforcements coming. Perfect, Vextar said. They are completely alone. Back on the human transport ship, Captain Murphy and Dr. Rodriguez sat in silence as they flew back toward their world. The planet grew larger in their view screen as they approached. 6 hours, Rodriguez said quietly. More than enough, Murphy replied. He activated the ship's communication system. Control, this is Murphy returning from talks with the Zilithian fleet. Copy that, Jake, came the response from the planet. How did it go? Murphy looked at Rodriguez, who nodded. Dan, it's time to wake up the neighbors. Send the signal. Understood, the voice replied. Signal sent. All stations acknowledge. As their ship entered the planet's atmosphere, Murphy could see the settlement below. It looked exactly like what it was supposed to look like. A simple farming community with fields of grain and small houses scattered around a central town. Nothing that would make an alien admiral suspicious. Think they bought it? Rodriguez asked. Murphy smiled for the first time since boarding the Zilithian ship. They're just humans, they said. Soft, weak creatures, they said. They have no idea what's coming. The transport ship landed at the small spaceport where several people waited for them. To the Zilithian observers watching from orbit, they looked like worried civilians gathering for news. But Captain Jake Murphy knew better. The real show was about to begin. Captain Murphy stepped off the transport ship onto the landing pad where 3 people waited for him. The first was Mayor Dan Collins, a tall man with brown hair who looked like he had spent his whole life working with his hands. Next to him stood Chief of Security Amy Carter, a woman with short red hair and sharp green eyes that missed nothing. The third person was Lieutenant Commander Steve Harrison, a quiet man who supposedly ran cargo ships between the outer colonies. Well, Collins asked as Murphy and Rodriguez walked toward them. 6 hours until they start shooting, Murphy replied. He looked around the small spaceport where other colonists were going about their daily work. To anyone watching from space, it would look like a normal day on a farming world. 30 ships in their fleet, Rodriguez added, checking her tablet. Standard Zilithian battle formation with heavy cruisers in the center and destroyers on the flanks. Amy Carter nodded like she had expected this news. Same tactics they used at Proxima and Wolf 359. They never changed their playbook. The group walked toward the town center while other colonists continued their work in the fields. Children played in the streets while their parents tended gardens and repaired equipment. Everything looked peaceful and normal. What about our situation? Collins asked as they entered what appeared to be the town hall. 12,000 civilians on paper, Murphy said. But we both know the real numbers. Harrison spoke up for the first time. 3,000 combat-ready adults, every single one with military background. Marines, Navy, Army, Air Force, and a few special operations people who wanted to try farming. They walked down into what looked like a basement storage area. Collins pressed his hand against a hidden scanner, and a heavy door slid open. Beyond it lay a command center that would have impressed Earth's military planners. Dr. Rodriguez plugged her tablet into the main console. I got a full scan of their flagship during the meeting. Their shields operate on the same frequency we identified from the wreck at Titan Station. Excellent, Carter said, pulling up tactical displays. Our people have been studying Zilithian technology for 20 years. We know every weakness in their ships. The command center buzzed with quiet activity as people who looked like farmers and shopkeepers revealed their true nature. These were Earth's finest soldiers who had chosen to build new lives among the stars. But they had never forgotten their training. Status report, Collins ordered. A woman who ran the local bakery during the day pulled up defensive positions. All primary positions manned and ready. Secondary teams are moving to backup locations. Civilians are being evacuated to hardened shelters. What about the Betty Sue? Murphy asked Harrison. The quiet man smiled. She's ready. My crew finished the modifications last month. The Zilithians think she's just an old cargo hauler. They're going to get a very big surprise. Through the command center's windows, they could see the Betty Sue sitting at the far end of the spaceport. She looked like exactly what she was supposed to look like. A beat-up old transport ship that had seen better days. Her hull was dented and stained from years of carrying farm equipment and supplies. How long until your people are ready? Carter asked. Sergeant Major Williams has been drilling the squads every week for the past 5 years, Collins replied. They know exactly what to do. Outside in the town square, Patricia Williams was organizing defense teams with the efficiency of someone who had done this many times before. She wore simple work clothes but moved with the precision of a career soldier. Her husband, Tony Williams, helped distribute weapons that had been hidden in barns and storage sheds across the settlement. Remember what we practiced? Patricia called out to a group of 20 colonists. First wave hits their landing craft. Second wave takes out their communication relays. Third wave provides covering fire for civilian evacuation. The colonists nodded and moved to their positions. These people had grown food and raised families for years on this world. But before that, they had served on Earth's frontier, protecting human space from pirates and hostile aliens. Tony Williams checked his weapon and looked at his wife. Just like old times. Better, Patricia replied. This time we're protecting our home. In the fields around the settlement, other colonists were making their own preparations. What looked like irrigation systems revealed hidden missile launchers. Farm equipment sheds opened to show artillery pieces. Even the grain silos had been modified to serve as observation posts and weapon storage. Dr. Rodriguez monitored everything from the command center. All defensive positions report ready. Civilian, evacuation is 90% complete. Good, Collins said. He opened a communication channel. All teams, this is Collins. Execute Protocol 7. Across the settlement, people began moving with new purpose. The peaceful farming community transformed into a military base that had been disguised for years. Every building, every road, every field had been planned and prepared for this moment. Amy Carter coordinated with teams across the planet. Outer perimeter teams report Zilithian scout ships maintaining standard patrol patterns. They suspect nothing. Murphy looked at the tactical display showing enemy positions. Vextar thinks he's attacking helpless farmers. He has no idea he's walking into the most sophisticated trap in human space. Harrison was making final checks on the Betty Sue's systems. His crew of 5 looked like cargo ship workers, but they were all former Earth Navy with years of combat experience. The ship herself had been gutted and rebuilt with military-grade equipment hidden inside civilian hull plating. All systems green, Harrison reported. Stealth mode ready, weapons charged. My people know their jobs. Collins looked around the command center at faces he had known for years. These people had left military careers to build something new on this distant world. They had planted crops and raised children and created a community. but they had never stopped being soldiers. The Zilithians made one big mistake, he said. They thought humans would be easy targets because we're new to space. They never bothered to learn who we really are. Carter pulled up intelligence reports from other human colonies. Signal confirms that all outposts received our message. 27 worlds are ready to execute coordinated response. How long until Earth fleet arrives? Rodriguez asked. 48 hours for the nearest battle group, Murphy replied. But we won't need them. This ends here and now. Patricia Williams entered the command center after finishing preparations above ground. All teams report ready for action. Children are secure in bunker systems. Medical teams standing by Tony Williams joined her with a status report. Perimeter teams have eyes on all Zilithian positions. Landing zones are prepared for their arrival. Collins checked the countdown timer. 4 hours until their deadline. Everyone knows what happens next. The plan was simple and had been practiced dozens of times. Let the Zilithians begin their attack. Allow them to commit their forces. Then show them what humans could do when they were truly angry. Sir, one of the technicians called out. Long-range sensors detect movement in the Zilithian fleet. They're beginning to form attack formation. Right on schedule, Carter observed. Vextar is predictable. He'll start with orbital bombardment of obvious targets, then send landing craft to secure the settlement. Harrison made final preparations for launch. Betty Sue ready for departure. We'll wait until they're fully committed, then hit them from behind. Murphy looked at the peaceful settlement above them where children had played just hours before. Now those same streets were ready to become a battlefield. But this time the humans would be ready. Remember what we're fighting for, Collins told everyone in the command center. This isn't just about our world. Every human colony is watching. Every human family depends on what we do in the next few hours. The countdown timer showed 3 hours and 57 minutes remaining. In space above them, 30 Zilithian warships prepared to attack what they thought was a defenseless farming community. They were about to learn why humans had survived every challenge their dangerous galaxy could throw at them. Admiral Vextar watched the countdown timer on his bridge display reach 0. 6 hours had passed since he gave the humans their ultimatum. Time for the Zilithian Empire to claim another world. Begin orbital bombardment, he commanded. Target their communication array and power generation facility first. Leave the agricultural areas intact for our occupation forces. The massive guns of his flagship charged with deadly energy. Around him, the bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency. This was routine for them, another weak species about to learn the price of refusing the Empire. Firing, announced his weapons officer. Brilliant beams of plasma energy streaked down from orbit toward the human settlement. The first target was a tall metal tower that appeared to be their main communication system. The second was a large building that thermal scans had identified as their primary power source. Both targets exploded in spectacular fireballs that lit up the landscape for miles around. Vextar watched the destruction with satisfaction. Direct hits confirmed, reported Zethkol. Both targets eliminated. Excellent, Vextar said. Now they are blind and powerless. Prepare the landing craft for deployment, but his tactical officer was frowning at his console. Sir, I'm reading some unusual energy signatures from the surface. The destruction patterns don't match our projections. Before anyone could respond, the bridge erupted with warning alarms. Red lights flashed as the ship's defensive systems screamed alerts. Multiple missile launches detected, shouted the sensor operator. Origin point the settlement's main square. Vextar stared at his tactical display in shock. Dozens of projectiles were rising from the planet's surface, racing toward his fleet with deadly purpose. This was impossible. His intelligence reports had shown no missile systems on the entire world. Evasive maneuvers, he ordered. All ships take defensive positions, but the missiles were faster than expected and guided by technology that seemed far too advanced for a simple farming colony. The first wave struck 3 of his destroyers before they could react. The ships exploded in balls of superheated gas that could be seen from the planet below. "Sir, we're detecting a new contact," called out another officer. "Ship rising from the planet's surface." On the main screen appeared what looked like an old cargo hauler. The Betty Sue had launched from the settlement's spaceport and was climbing toward the battle zone. Vextar almost laughed at the sight of such a pathetic vessel. "One cargo ship?" he said. "Do they think that rust bucket can threaten the Imperial fleet?" His amusement lasted exactly 15 seconds. The Betty Sue suddenly shed its outer hull plating like a snake shedding old skin. Beneath the disguise lay a sleek warship bristling, with weapons that belonged on a heavy battle cruiser. "Impossible," breathed Zeth Cole. "Our scan showed it was just a transport." Lieutenant Commander Harrison's voice came through the communication system with crystal clarity. "Zilithian fleet, this is the UES Benjamin Franklin. You just made the biggest mistake of your lives. The ship that had been called Betty Sue opened fire with weapons that tore through Zilithian shields like they were made of paper. 2 more destroyers died in the first salvo, while Harrison's crew worked with deadly precision." "Sir, massive energy readings from across the planet's surface," reported the tactical officer. "I'm detecting underground installations everywhere. This entire world appears to be a military fortress." On the planet below, Mayor Collins coordinated the defense from his command bunker. The disguise was over. Every hidden weapon system came online at once. Missile batteries emerged from grain, silos. Artillery pieces rose from barn foundations. The peaceful farming community revealed its true nature as one of the most sophisticated military bases in human space. "All teams execute attack pattern Delta," Collins ordered. "Show these crystal heads what Earth's children can do." Sergeant Major Williams led her squad through trenches that had been disguised as irrigation ditches. Her people moved with the fluid grace of veteran soldiers who had trained together for years. The Zilithians had never faced anything like human small unit. "Tactics, target their landing craft," she called out over the comm. "Don't let them establish a beachhead." Tony Williams positioned his team behind cover that looked like farm equipment, but was actually armored fighting positions. When the first Zilithian dropships entered the atmosphere, his people were ready, with weapons that could punch through alien armor. "Here they come," he announced as enemy craft descended toward the settlement. "Remember your training. Aim for the engine compartments. The battle that followed would be studied in military academies for generations. What should have been a simple occupation became a nightmare for the Zilithian forces. Every building hid defenders. Every road was a kill zone. Every field of grain concealed weapons that struck with devastating accuracy. Dr. Rodriguez monitored the fight from multiple command posts that had been built into the planet's crust years before. Zilithian ground forces are taking massive casualties. Their orbital support is being neutralized by our surface batteries. Amy Carter moved between defensive positions like a conductor directing an orchestra of destruction. Her people had prepared for this battle since the day they arrived on this world. Every contingency had been planned. Every weakness in Zilithian tactics had been studied and countered. "Third wave incoming," she reported. "Zilithian heavy assault craft attempting to land at grid reference 77 Alpha. "Negative," came the reply from Tony Williams. "That grid reference is a minefield. Let them land." The massive Zilithian transport touched down exactly where the humans wanted it. The explosion could be seen from orbit as hidden charges turned the landing zone into a crater filled with twisted metal. Up in space, Admiral Vextar watched his carefully planned invasion collapse into chaos. Half his fleet was already destroyed, or disabled. The mysterious human warship was carving through his remaining forces with weapons that seemed decades ahead of Zilithian technology. "Sir, incoming transmission from the surface," Zeth Cole announced. Captain Murphy's face appeared on the main screen, but he was no longer wearing civilian clothes. His uniform marked him as a colonel in Earth's Colonial Defense Force. "Admiral Vextar, this is Firebase Omega Actual," Murphy said calmly. You are ordered to cease hostilities immediately and withdraw from this system. Firebase Omega? Vextar sputtered. You said this was a farming colony. It is a farming colony, Murphy replied. We grow excellent wheat and corn. We also happen to be a forward military base established to study Zilithian tactics and prepare for exactly this moment. Patricia Williams appeared next to Murphy on the screen. Her farmer's clothes had been replaced by combat armor that identified her as a sergeant major in the colonial marines. Every human settlement you've observed has been a military installation, she explained. Every colonist is a trained soldier. Every world is a fortress. We've been watching you, learning your weaknesses, waiting for you to make this mistake. Vexatar looked at his tactical display. 12 ships remained from his original fleet of 30. The human ground forces had eliminated his entire landing force. The mysterious warship was systematically hunting down his remaining vessels. This is impossible, he said. You're just farmers. We are farmers, agreed Dr. Rodriguez as she joined the communication. Her medical coat had been replaced by the uniform of an intelligence officer. We're also soldiers, scientists, engineers, and very angry parents whose children you just threatened. Another of Vextar's ships exploded as Harrison and his crew continued their deadly work. The Benjamin Franklin moved through space like a predator, stalking wounded prey. Sir, emergency transmission from High Command, Zeth Cole reported. They're receiving similar reports from Sectors 7 and 12. Human colonies everywhere are fighting back. Collins appeared on screen wearing the insignia of a full admiral. Admiral Vexatar, your empire has made a fundamental error. You assumed humans would be easy targets because we're new to interstellar space. You never bothered to learn who we really are. We are the children of Earth, Murphy added. We've survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and everything else our dangerous world could throw at us. Did you really think a few crystal ships would scare us? The communication ended, leaving Vextar staring at a tactical display that showed his complete defeat. In less than 2 hours, a simple farming colony had destroyed most of his fleet and eliminated his ground forces. Sir, recommend immediate withdrawal, Zeth Cole suggested. Vextar watched another of his ships die under Harrison's guns. The humans had been planning this moment for years, maybe decades. Every detail had been prepared. Every contingency covered. Signal. Retreat, he ordered. All remaining ships withdraw immediately. As his battered fleet limped away from Kepler 442b, Vextar finally understood the truth. They hadn't been fighting farmers. They had been fighting humanity itself. Admiral Vextar's flagship limped through hyperspace toward the Zilithian homeworld, with only 4 other ships from his once mighty fleet. The bridge was dark and filled with the acrid smell of burned electronics. Emergency lighting cast strange shadows across the crystal walls as damage control teams worked to keep life support functioning. Sir, we're receiving reports from across the Empire, Zeth Cole announced, his voice shaking with fear and confusion. 3 more fleets have encountered the same resistance. The humans aren't what we thought they were. Vexatar stared at the tactical reports scrolling across his damaged console. Fleet Admiral Korthak had lost 18 ships attacking what appeared to be a human mining colony. Commander Veltar's force had been completely destroyed trying to take a simple trading post. The pattern was the same everywhere. Human settlements that looked defenseless were revealing themselves as sophisticated military bases. How is this possible? Vextar asked no one in particular. Our intelligence network is the best in the galaxy. How did we miss this? The answer came in the form of intercepted human communications that his surviving ships had managed to record during their retreat. Captain Murphy's voice played through the bridge speakers with chilling clarity. All Earth colonies, all Earth vessels, this is Firebase Omega. The Zilithians have engaged human civilians. Repeat, they have fired on human civilians. Authorization code Delta 77 is now active. Zeth Cole looked up from his console with growing horror. Sir, that transmission was sent on emergency frequencies to every human settlement in known space. Over 200 colonies received the message. What does it mean? Vexatar demanded. His question was answered by another intercepted communication. This one came from Dr. Rodriguez, speaking to someone called Earth Central Command. Colonial Defense. Authority. This is Agent Rodriguez reporting successful completion of Operation Mousetrap. Zilithian fleet has taken the bait. All human colonies are authorized to reveal their true nature and engage the enemy. Vextar felt something cold settle in his stomach. Operation Mousetrap? Sir, I'm accessing our intelligence files on human colonial expansion, one of his officers reported. According to our data, humans began establishing settlements 50 years ago. Small farming communities and trading posts scattered across the frontier. That matches what we observed, Zethkol confirmed. Peaceful colonists with basic technology and minimal defenses. But sir, the officer continued, if this Operation Mousetrap is real, then everything we observed was deliberate deception. Every human colony was designed to look weak and vulnerable while actually being a military fortress. The implications hit Vextar like a physical blow. For decades, the Zilithian Empire had been watching human expansion, cataloging their settlements, planning future conquests. They had seen exactly what the humans wanted them to see. A species of soft farmers and merchants who would be easy prey when the Empire was ready to expand in their direction. Bring up the tactical analysis of human technology, Vextar ordered. His science officer called up data files that now seemed completely worthless. Our assessment showed human weapons and shields to be at least 2 centuries behind Imperial standard. Their ships appeared to be simple cargo haulers and colony transports. But the ship that destroyed half our fleet, Zethkol pointed out, that vessel had weapons more advanced than anything in our arsenal. Its shields shrugged off our most powerful. Guns like they were toys. Vextar accessed his personal files and pulled up recordings from the meeting with Captain Murphy and Dr. Rodriguez. He watched the 2 humans sitting calmly across from him, showing no fear even when threatened with orbital bombardment. Look at them, he said to his remaining officers. They weren't afraid because they knew exactly what was going to happen. They had been planning this moment for years. New reports continued flooding in from across Zilithian space. Human colonies everywhere were shedding their disguises. Cargo, ships were revealing themselves as warships. Mining operations were activating defense platforms that could destroy Imperial cruisers. Trading posts were launching fighters that moved faster than anything the Zilithians had ever seen. Sir, we're receiving a priority transmission from High Command, the communications officer announced. High Commander Thalvin's crystalline face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, Vextar could see the emergency session of the Imperial Council. In full session, Admiral Vextar report to Zephyria Prime immediately, Thalvin commanded. The Council demands a full explanation of this disaster. Sir, the humans have revealed military capabilities far beyond our estimates, Vextar began. Impossible, Thalvin interrupted. Our intelligence is perfect. Humans are primitive creatures who barely understand the technology they use. Sir, with respect, the evidence suggests otherwise, Vexatar replied. The colony I attacked was actually a sophisticated military base. Every human settlement appears to be the same. Thalvin's crystal spikes flared with anger. You were defeated by farmers because you are incompetent. The Council will decide your fate when you arrive. The transmission ended, leaving Vextar staring at a blank screen. His superiors refused to accept the truth about what they were facing. They would rather believe their own officers were failures than admit their intelligence had been completely wrong. Sir, incoming transmission from the human settlement, his communications officer reported. Mayor Collins appeared on screen, but he was no longer wearing civilian clothes. His uniform identified him as an admiral in Earth's Colonial Defense Force. Admiral Vextar. This is Admiral Daniel Collins of Firebase Omega, he said in a calm, professional voice. I wanted to personally thank you for attacking our world. Thank me? Vextar sputtered. Absolutely, Collins replied. Your assault has given Earth the justification we needed to reveal our true defensive capabilities. For 50 years, we've been preparing for this moment. Building bases, training soldiers, developing weapons. All we needed was for someone to fire the first shot. Lieutenant Commander Harrison joined Collins on screen. His quiet manner was gone, replaced by the bearing of a veteran naval officer. Every human colony has been a military installation from day one, Harrison explained. We've been studying Zilithian tactics, technology, and strategic doctrine since first contact. We know your ships better than you do. Dr. Rodriguez appeared next, her medical coat replaced by an intelligence uniform. We've been feeding your spies carefully crafted information for decades. Everything you think you know about human capabilities is wrong. Sergeant Major Williams joined the group, her combat armor gleaming under the lights. Every colonist is a trained soldier. Every farmer is a veteran. Every merchant ship captain served in Earth's military. We've been waiting for you to make this mistake. Collins leaned forward toward the camera. Admiral, your empire has 37 inhabited systems. We've identified strategic weaknesses in all of them. Your homeworld of Zephyria Prime has particularly interesting vulnerabilities in its planetary shield matrix. Impossible, Vextar breathed. Zephyria Prime is impregnable. Our shields have never fallen. Actually, they have a fatal flaw in their crystalline structure, Rodriguez said with a smile. We've had samples of your technology to study ever since the Battle of Wolf 359. Did you really think we wouldn't analyze every piece of wreckage? Harrison pulled up technical displays that showed detailed schematics of Zilithian ships and defense systems. We've spent 50 years preparing for this war. Every human colony has been a research station studying your weaknesses. War? Vextar asked. Oh, yes, Collins replied. This is war now. You attacked human civilians, threatened human children. There's no going back from that. Patricia Williams stepped forward. Admiral, you need to understand something about humans. We don't just defend ourselves. When someone threatens our families, we hunt them down and destroy them completely. Every Zilithian world is now a target, Murphy added, joining the group. Every Imperial ship is marked for destruction. This isn't going to be a negotiated peace. This is going to be total victory or total defeat. The transmission ended, leaving Vexitar's bridge in stunned silence. His officers stared at each other with growing fear as the reality of their situation became clear. Sir Zethkol said quietly, If the humans have been planning this for 50 years, then we're not facing a species that just learned to travel between stars. Vextar finished. We're facing a civilization that has been preparing for interstellar war since before we knew they existed. His remaining ships continued their journey toward Zephyria Prime, carrying news that would shake the foundations of the Zilithian Empire. The age of easy conquest was over. The humans were coming, and they had been ready for this fight longer than anyone could have imagined. The crystal spires of Zephyria Prime reached toward the stars like frozen lightning, each tower a monument to 1,000 years of Zilithian dominance. The planet's surface gleamed with cities built from living crystal that grew and shaped itself, according to the will of its inhabitants. This was the heart of an empire that had never known defeat. Admiral Vexitar stood in the great council chamber before the assembled leadership of the Zilithian Empire. The room was carved from a single, massive crystal that amplified and focused the voices of those who spoke within it. Around him sat the High Council, their crystalline forms glowing with barely contained anger. Explain yourself, commanded High Commander Thalvin from his throne at the center of the chamber. How did a simple farming colony destroy most of your fleet? Vextar had been dreading this moment during the entire journey home. High Commander, the human settlement was not what it appeared to be. It was a sophisticated military base disguised as a civilian colony. Impossible, declared Counselor Melkar. Our intelligence network has monitored human expansion for 50 years. They are primitive creatures with basic technology. I have seen their weapons with my own eyes, Vextar insisted. Their ship destroyed 3 of our heavy cruisers in less than 10 minutes. Their ground forces eliminated my entire landing force without taking significant casualties. Thalvin's crystal spikes flared with contempt. You were outwitted by farmers. Because you are weak and incompetent. Perhaps spending too much time in comfortable command positions has made you soft. Before Vextar could respond, alarms began wailing throughout the Crystal City. Emergency broadcasts echoed from every communication system as the planetary defense grid activated with desperate urgency. Alert, alert, the automated systems announced. Unknown fleet detected at the edge of the system. All defense forces to battle stations immediately. Through the crystal walls of the council chamber, they could see the orbital defense platforms powering up their massive weapons. The shields that protected Zephyria Prime began glowing with defensive energy that had never been tested in actual combat. Impossible, Thalvin breathed. No enemy has ever reached our homeworld, the great viewing crystal in the chamber's ceiling, activated to show what was happening in space above them. Ships were emerging from hyperspace in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming silver against the star field. These were not the crude cargo haulers the Zelithians expected to see. Captain, Murphy's voice filled the council chamber with calm authority. Zelithian High Command, this is the UES Constitution leading Earth Colonial Defense Force Battle Group 7. You have committed acts of war against human civilians. Surrender immediately or face the consequences. Thalvin activated the communication system. Human vessels, you dare to threaten the Zelithian homeworld. Withdraw now, or be destroyed by defenses that have never fallen. Actually, came a new voice that made Vextar's blood freeze. Those defenses have a critical weakness we've known about for 20 years, Dr. Rodriguez appeared on the viewing crystal, wearing the uniform of Earth Intelligence. Your planetary shields operate on a crystalline matrix frequency that we've studied extensively. Lieutenant Commander Harrison, would you care to demonstrate? The ship that had once been called Betty. Sue moved into attack position. But now she flew in formation with dozens of other vessels that had shed their civilian disguises to reveal weapons that belonged in the nightmares of Zelithian strategic planners. High Commander, Vextar said urgently, we must evacuate the city. These humans are not what we thought. Silence, Thalvin commanded. Our shields are impenetrable. Watch as their primitive weapons break against Zelithian crystal. Harrison's ship fired a single precisely aimed beam that passed through the planetary shields like they were made of air. The energy bolt struck the tallest crystal spire in the capital city, vaporizing the entire structure in a pillar of superheated gas. The council chamber shook as debris rained down on the city below. Crystal fragments that had stood for centuries crumbled into dust as the supposedly invincible defenses proved useless against human technology. Impossible, Thalvin whispered. The shields cannot fail. Mayor Collins appeared on the communication channel, but his civilian appearance had been replaced by the dress uniform of a full admiral. High Commander, I am Admiral Daniel Collins, Earth Colonial Defense Force. What you just witnessed was a demonstration. A demonstration? Melkar asked in a shaking voice. That was one ship firing one shot at minimal power, Collins explained. My battle group has 60 ships with weapons designed specifically to counter Zelithian defenses. Would you like to see what happens when we stop being polite? Patricia Williams joined the communication-wearing combat armor that identified her as a command sergeant major. High Commander, your empire made one critical mistake. You assumed we were primitive because we were new to space. The truth is, we've been preparing for this war since the day we met you, Tony Williams added, his farmer's clothes replaced by special operations gear. Every human colony has been a research station. Every diplomatic contact has been an intelligence-gathering operation. Dr. Rodriguez held up a crystal fragment that looked identical to those used in Zelithian technology. We've been studying your science for decades. Did you really think we couldn't figure out how to defeat systems we understand better than you do? Amy Carter appeared next, her security chief uniform replaced by the insignia of a full colonel. Every human settlement you observed was designed to look weak and vulnerable. We wanted you to attack us first. Why? Thalvin demanded. Because now we have justification for what comes next, Murphy replied. His captain's uniform had given way to the stars of a fleet admiral. You threatened human children. You fired on human civilians. In our culture, that means total war. Lieutenant Commander Harrison's ship moved closer to the planet as more human vessels took attack positions. High Commander, this is your final warning. Surrender unconditionally or watch your capital burn. We will never surrender to inferior creatures, Thalvin declared. Zilithian crystal is eternal. Zilithian will is unbreakable. Your crystal isn't eternal, Harrison replied, and your will is about to be tested. The human fleet opened fire with weapons that had been designed and built specifically for this moment. Beams of energy that could slice through Zilithian shields like cutting paper struck targets across the capital city with surgical precision. The great crystal spires that had stood for a millennium began falling like trees in a windstorm. Each structure that collapsed sent shockwaves through the planetary crust that could be felt in the deepest bunkers. "Stop!" Thalvin screamed as his city died around him. "We surrender!" "Too late for that," Collins replied coldly. "You had your chance to surrender. You chose war instead." The bombardment continued as human ships systematically destroyed every military target on the planet. Command centers, weapons factories, orbital shipyards, all of them reduced to molten crystal and twisted metal. Vextar watched in horror as the civilization he had served his entire life crumbled before his eyes. "How are they doing this?" he asked no one in particular. By being human came a new voice. Sergeant Major Williams appeared on screen from what looked like the surface of Zephyria Prime itself. Behind her, Vextar could see human soldiers moving through the ruins of the Crystal City. "Did you think we only had ships?" she asked. "We've had ground teams on your homeworld for 5 years, studying your defenses, mapping your installations, preparing for this moment." "Impossible," Thalvin gasped. "Our security is perfect." "Your security was designed to stop Zilithian infiltrators," Williams replied. "It wasn't designed to stop humans who had been planning this operation for decades." Collins reappeared on the communication channel. "High Commander, the Zilithian Empire is finished. Your fleets are destroyed. Your colonies are surrendering. Your homeworld is occupied. But you're just farmers," Thalvin said weakly. "We are farmers," Murphy agreed. "We're also soldiers, scientists, engineers, and parents whose children you threatened. We're human beings, and we don't lose wars." The great crystal chamber where the High Council had ruled for centuries split down the middle with a sound like breaking thunder. Emergency lighting failed as the building's structure collapsed around. The surviving Zilithian leaders. Dr. Rodriguez appeared one final time on the failing communication system. "High Commander, this is what happens when you underestimate humanity. We told you we needed time to consider your terms. What we didn't mention was that we had already considered them 50 years ago." As the capital city of Zephyria Prime burned, against the alien sky, Admiral Vextar finally understood the truth that would haunt him for the rest of his life. They had never been fighting farmers and merchants. They had been fighting the children of Earth, and the children of Earth had been ready for war since the day they left their home world behind. The age of Zilithian dominance was over. The age of human expansion had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.